If you've watched My Hero Academia, you know that Deku, our favorite little broccoli boy, is a bit unusual in how he relates to others. From his tangled past with Bakugo, to his adoration of All Might, to his compulsion to be everybody's therapist, Deku acts in ways that would often be considered unusual. Ways that might even be enough to count as Autism Spectrum Disorder. So, as someone who is autistic, I love it when a fictional character exhibits some traits of autism, and Deku is one I definitely think might be on the spectrum. My main arguments are Deku's heightened empathy, the way he acts around Sue and Mei Hatsume, his focus on heroes, his actions and feelings toward Bakugo, the way he analyzes situations, and the way he expresses strong emotions. Note that while this is a theory, and I think Deku really could have autism if he were a real person, it's not actually possible to diagnose a fictional character, and I am not a licensed professional. Also, obviously, mental health and neurodiversity is a sensitive topic, one which I am not trying to make light of or belittle. This theory will not hold weight as an official diagnosis, and please don't try to make more of it than it is, just a silly little video for my inner MatPat. It's just for the funsies. Perhaps the most compelling argument for this theory is Deku's heightened empathy. Throughout the series, whenever he sees someone hurting, Deku feels he has to do whatever he can to help. It's a common misconception that people with autism don't have empathy. But the reality is that we often have more empathy than a normal or neurotypical person does. There's just so much that it's overwhelming to process all those signals. Deku definitely exhibits this. We see it in the sports festival, where he's willing to lose if it helps Todoroki work through his trauma. We see it in the Hero Killer Stain arc, when he comes to Iida's defense, and the summer camp arc where he's determined to help Kota. And maybe in the biggest way, we see it in the Overhaul arc, where Deku almost lets his desire to help Eri consume him, because he feels her pain and can't handle the thought of her suffering anymore. This is a common trait of autism, but it isn't the only one present in our broccoli child. Now this is a bit of an odd one. One thing that convinced me Deku was autistic is the way he interacts with others who aren't exactly typical, namely Tsuyu Asui and Mei Hatsume. He just sort of instantly gloms onto them, and they respond in kind, forming close friendships almost immediately, which is especially odd when compared to Deku's social awkwardness around most other people. This is a common trait of people with autism or any similar condition like ADHD. If you're neurodivergent and you find someone else who is too, you often get to instinctively like them because you have a lot in common. Sue might also be autistic, with her classic pose very reminiscent of a natural stimming behavior. And Mei Hatsume is definitely a bit unusual, with her single-minded focus on inventing and her inability to read social situations. With both of these girls, Deku gets into lively conversations and potentially intimate situations, such as when an explosion knocks Hatsume on top of him. But most often, neither is aware of how it looks to outsiders. Of course Ochaco is jealous, it does not look good, but neither Deku nor Hatsume are aware of the implications. They're just each happy to be around someone who understands them. They're just being weird. They're cool like that. One trait that those familiar with autism may recognize is that of a special interest, and its more well-known cousin, a hyperfixation. A hyperfixation is a brief but nearly all-consuming interest in something, from spending a week only playing Minecraft to reading everything you can about axolotls because you saw a cute picture and just had to know what it was, and come on, they're just so awesome. Sorry for that rant, I might have a hyperfixation or two right now. Anyways, a special interest is more of a long-term version of a hyperfixation. Think of that one kid who just loves trains. Or superheroes. Deku loves heroes, to a potentially unhealthy degree. He takes notes on them all the time, has a room filled with All Might figures, and can list off plenty of information about almost any hero he comes in contact with. Especially All Might. His interest in them is almost all-consuming, and that is a hallmark trait of autism. No, this is not romantic. Who on earth thought that this demented hex ship of delusion was ever going to set sail? Sorry for the outburst, I just felt I had to clarify what was going on as soon as I brought up Deku and Bakugo. There's a lot of baggage there. Anyways, you can tell if you've dipped your toes in the MHA fandom, and if you have, you might have then immediately gone to get some bleach, that Deku and Bakugo have a lot going on between them. Some people think it's romantic for some reason, but I think it's mostly just complicated. Let's start off with what we actually see in canon. From a young age, Deku and Bakugo were friends, but grew apart once Bakugo discovered his quirk and started resenting Deku. Oblivious to this fact, Deku continued to chase after Bakugo, almost idolizing him, and convinced that they were still friends. You can most clearly see this dynamic in the names they use for each other. Deku is an insult related to a traditional Japanese wooden doll, which loosely means useless or blockhead. Kachan is a portmanteau of Bakugo's first name Katsuki with the honorific chan. Using first names is very informal in Japanese culture, especially if you shorten them, and chan is an honorific that is reserved for equals or close friends. Therefore, the name Kachan implies a really close relationship. This is the weird situation that the two rivals have found themselves in. Bakugo looks down on Deku, but Deku himself is oblivious, continuing to believe that Bakugo means well, that he doesn't intend any harm because after all, they're friends, aren't they? Deku's normally high emotional intelligence fails him when it comes to Bakugo. He's unable to read the situation properly, putting him in real trouble multiple times. If you ask autistic people about their social experiences, especially as kids, a common one is misreading a relationship, believing that it's closer than it really is. Deku's convinced he and Bakugo are close friends because he's unable to properly read the signals Bakugo is sending, which makes him in turn come off as overly clingy without realizing it. Another point for autism. Childhood trauma. Moving on. Deku is one of the smarter students in Class 1A, or at least one of the ones who most directly uses intelligence to fight his battles. He's always looking at every move he or an opponent makes in combat, taking notes on professional heroes and his own classmates, and of course talking to himself. This strategy of analyzing everything can be a useful tool for us autistic folks. People with autism often feel the need to put everything into a neat little box as we struggle to intuit things or see the world in shades of gray. This leads to us looking at the world around us and taking note of everything as we struggle to figure out what's expected of us, the rules we need to follow. For someone with autism, the world makes the most sense as a set of rules, especially for social situations or other topics we struggle with. This way of looking at the world is unique from neurotypicals, and we clearly see Deku using it. The last topic I want to talk about is emotions. I joke a lot among friends that Deku did have a quirk before All Might. His ability to cry a seemingly impossible amount. I mean, literal fountains of water is a bit much, and it may be hereditary because his mom does it too. There's also the multiple times Deku struggles to hold back his anger against a villain, or forgets the rules he has to follow in the heat of the moment, like in the Hero Killer Stain arc. Deku seems to struggle with emotional regulation, keeping emotions in control and acting in spite of them. This is also something people who have autism struggle with. With all these factors, it seems that Deku is on the spectrum, and honestly, I think that's pretty cool. Thanks for watching. This is a pet theory I've had for some time, and I'm so excited to have finally gotten to share it with y'all. I do love MHA, and I'm thinking of doing some other theories, maybe about Zelda or Minecraft for instance, so let me know if you want to see more of that. I've got one on the Zonai I've been thinking about, as well as one on Enderman biology, so we'll see if those end up getting made into videos. Anyways, hope y'all like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now!